guys, welcome to my Facebook page. Let's talk evolution. Today I want to chat to you guys a little bit about ghosting. It's an annoying thing to experience. Most of you have, most of us have, and very often we have been the one ghosting, but it's easier to acknowledge something when you're at the receiving end of it because you're the one experiencing the pain and the discomfort and the triggering of all of your own predisposed insecurities and wounding. There's a lot of information going around on social media. It's a real buzzword, ghosting, being ghosted. Everybody can relate. And what stands out to me is the fact that a lot of the information around being ghosted is about the person and how terrible they must be to do this to you. All this negative information about the person. They must be inferior either emotionally, in their character, or in their personality to do this to you or to someone. And that's all good and well because it is a coping mechanism. That's what our ego does. Our ego tries to protect us. And when we feel intense emotions around something and it begins to consume us, then the ego comes up with scenarios that helps us to try and get past it as quickly as possible. So when you put that person into the bad box, you make them the villain in the story, then it makes you feel a little bit better. And feeling better matters. But does it help you when you do that and you leave it there and you just repeat that the next time it happens and the next time it happens? Does it help you in your evolution? Does it help you to get to that point where you're no longer likely to attract being treated in that way in the first place? But most importantly, even if it does happen, because people are fickle, we're human, it doesn't have that all-consuming effect on you where it is not a part of your personal experience in the way that it defines your self-worth, that it suddenly becomes your excuse for being unhappy, for being sad, and for being miserable, because that affects your quality of life. So this talk is to help you to look at this whole subject of being ghosted in a more empowering way. That's what my work is about. That is what my page is about. And that is what my YouTube channel is about. So if you want to go and check out my YouTube channel, you're welcome to do that. I will leave the details I'll add it when I post the video. Ghosting. Someone completely tunes out from you. It is silence where you want communication, where you want answers, where you want validation, where you want a particular action. The person completely tunes out from you. This is a coping mechanism. Silence is a form of communication, and it often speaks louder than words. I want to tell you a personal story. And I mean, I have many, but I've chosen this one specifically because it is about someone, an old friend that I considered and still do to be important. And the reason why I choose this story is because I'd like for you to see how we can misunderstand and how different people's coping styles and attachment styles can sometimes clash. So I'm not going to mention this person's name. We'll call him or her Joe. And I'll just tell you a brief story. So this is someone that I met, that knew people that I knew, and came into my experience through following my my old Facebook page. It was Authenticity Wellness Events. It was based around my wellness events, and I would post talks over there. talks about color therapy, talks about healing, talks about personal development, transformational talks. And this person started to follow me and comment and communicate with me and reached out to me because this person was going through some personal struggle and was really wanting to change the cycle in their own life. We developed a friendship because I decided that this was someone that I would like to be able to support in whichever way I can. But we have very different attachment styles. I detach, and I'm very independent in the way that I process. And whether you have a tendency to be excessive in your detachment or excessive in your attachment, the one is not better than the other. It is both just ways that it is forms of attachment that we've developed based on our own experience and often based on trauma. So there is no good or bad, and I'm not attempting to put anybody into a box. I just want to point out what is, right? So I decided to start working with this friend in my own personal capacity, free of charge, because I understood that this person couldn't afford my sessions. And I felt, and I do that from time to time, I've done it with many people where I would help them through their process as an offering. And I put time aside now. I've been a single mom for most of my children's lives. I'm completely independent in the sense that I've not there are many single moms, especially in South Africa, that live with their mom or their dad or with family members, or they have the support of a brother. I've never had that. I've been completely independent with my kids and worked a full-time job and did my spiritual work. So time is a valuable commodity. And at that time, I was working a full-time job and doing my spiritual coaching work and my spiritual process and healing work, doing the talks, doing sacred circles, gathering for other females who want to grow in their spiritual understanding and psychic development. So that's just to paint a picture of how busy I was. And so I allocated specific time for this friend. I saw value in this friend, a good person, someone that has really felt hard done by other people, wanting to give, like a real giver, And when you believe that there's value in giving, that giving of yourself and emptying yourself for someone is love, then you expect other people to do that for you. You take deep offense when someone else is not willing to do that for you. And obviously, I was already doing my spiritual work, and I have to practice my processes. I can't just show up and coach other people and help other people through their spiritual process and not do my own work. I'm the vessel for that. So I've got to be okay with myself, my world, my surrounding, my reality, and okay with my inner being to be able to do the work that I'm doing. So just so that we can acknowledge that myself and this friend were in different places in our own journey. And most of the people we meet are going to be in different places on our journey. They're not going to be where you are. And even in a relationship, you can meet in exactly the same place or feel like we're in the same place on our journey and on our path. It's going to change. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you grow and expand a little bit in one direction, and your partner then later grows and expands in another direction, because you're expanding for both of you and for the collective. And then they expand in another direction for both of you and for the collective. So even though we are connected, there is value in developing our independence, our emotional independence, and our spiritual independence, so that we can then be a whole when we form a part of a group or of a relationship. Anyway, I digress. So we were in different places. And obviously I was aware of my position, the fact that I am the one facilitating and helping through this friend through this process. So even though I decided that yes, I'm willing to offer friendship first and foremost, I was coach, I was counselor, and facilitator. So I needed to be professional as well, because otherwise I wouldn't help my friend to grow. And so I'd say allocate times to be able to do certain work and process certain things and explain certain things. But this person wanted me to be available at all hours every day. Because whenever they felt that they were going through, they'd experienced something that may upset them, they wanted to share it with me. And my work is not to get lost in the noise of your day. My work is to help you to understand how to focus away from that noise so that you can rise above it. And I was aware that there was a codependence, but also because this friend of mine was starting to feel better and experience the growth and the change, there was an admiration for me. And the work that I do it's intimate. It's someone listens to you and sees you in a way that no one's ever seen you before. So I needed to have very clear what you would call boundaries. And of course I was busy. I also have to take care of myself. But this friend believed that if you love someone and you care, you need to empty yourself for them. You need to be available to them all the time. And I was just not doing that. And so this friend started to express feelings of being wounded because I don't respond to messages promptly. Hours go by and I don't seem to show the same interest. This friend also developed feelings and these ideas of this possibly being some sort of fantasy of a relationship that they've always wanted, because it's natural for us to do that, because when we create these fairy tales around what's going to make us happy, we look for it wherever we can find it. And I was not willing to offer that, and I would communicate it as directly as I could. I don't consider myself to be someone that is afraid to say how I feel. And if you know me, if you've worked with me, if you've followed my page before, if you've watched my videos or even follow my YouTube, you know that you'd know me to be that way. But your experience of someone is always going to be through your lens. And eventually it became a very uncomfortable situation where I'd have to explain myself all the time. This friend was asking me questions about who I was talking to and why I was not giving them the attention or responding to messages. And I kept having to say, because it's my time, I will get to you when I am ready. And this is a friendship. I don't have to answer to you, kind of thing. But it got to the point where this person felt so wounded and so abandoned by me, even though I was present in the way that I'd initially intended to be, and in the way that I said, this is how much what I can give you, this is what I commit to. This friend wanted more and got lost in their victimhood, which is what they were trying to work through. So it's normal. We just because we acquire intellectual information does not mean that suddenly we change. The intellectual information and the knowing of something and the being of something is two very different things. So eventually I was in it became so uncomfortable that this friend would call me 13, 14, 20 times because I wasn't answering a message, and really cross-questioning me. And I said that if you don't respect my time and you don't respect my energy, then I'm going to have to end this friendship on more than one occasion. I said this twice, and by the third time I detached and blocked this person. Now that sounds like a horrible thing to do, but I didn't see things getting better. The more attention I was giving to it, the more I was explaining, the more it was sort of, it's like I was adding fuel to a fire, because the need within, sometimes the need within us, the wounding within us, we only really got that wounding acknowledged when someone was poking and prodding it. So we're okay with it being poked and prodded and hurt even more, as long as we're getting the attention and being acknowledged. And I didn't want to be a part of that perpetual cycle for this person. And also, I didn't want to dishonor myself, because I believe in order for me to honor you, I've got to respect and honor myself. And when I see that something becomes toxic, and even though I'm trying to explain and I'm trying to say I'm feeling disrespected, I'm feeling as though you are not acknowledging my needs and what's really happening here, I feel you're overstepping, I'm not being heard. Because when you're in the throes of your fear, of your wounding, there's a lot that you cannot hear. So I did what we call ghosted this person. Not because I didn't like this person, not because I didn't consider them a friend, not because I didn't believe that this was a good person, not because I didn't see value, because I needed to do what was healthy and right for me. It was making me feel, I was anxious, I was agitated, I was stressed, and I was already exhausted. So now there was a friendship in which I'm giving, but I'm not receiving what I need, which is peace. So I ghosted this friend, and for a while after that, a couple of times, this friend would try and message me through other ways to apologize, and I just ignored it, because I didn't believe that, I wasn't ready to believe that perhaps this person understands that I'm not okay with this. And I wasn't willing to have that same dance happen. It was only after maybe a year that I decided that, okay, I'm okay with acknowledging this person again. But obviously now that friend understands the position. There is no delusion. Okay, so the reason why I tell you the story is because I can identify with being on both sides of this scenario. And you know which side you identify with most. And I want you to know that regardless of which side you identify with most, that doesn't make you a good or a bad person, you know. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you weak because you are me, Elif, in your own story or scenario, or my friend, let's call my friend him or her Joe. You can be Joe in the scenario where you've been ghosted, or you can be Elif where you were the one that did the ghosting. Or you could have been Joe in one scenario and Elif in another one. It doesn't really matter. I just want to speak to the fact that we've all experienced it. And sometimes how we perceive it says more about where we are than the other person. Even though it's easier in the moment when we're overwhelmed with emotion to focus on the other person, to make them the bad one. And if that's what you need to do to feel a little bit better so that you can actually just think and focus, then do that, but don't let that be the only thing you do. Evolve from that. You know, do the next step. And that's what I want to help you with. I want to point out a few reasons why what the person might be trying to say to you through going quiet, through ghosting you. Okay? Number one, this is just not a priority for me. On my list of priorities and on the goal I have, this does not fit into the steps I take or the action I take to get to where I want to be. It's a priority for you, perhaps, I understand, but it's just not a priority for me. Number two, I don't want to hurt you with my words. I've been trying to say it in ways that I think are kind and respectful. Or maybe I've not said anything at all because I don't think that the truth, that you'll receive it in a way that is going to feel good. And I don't want to hurt you with my words. Number 3, I have a hard time being vulnerable. And I don't feel that the relationship or whatever this is provides me with a platform in which I can feel safe enough to allow myself to be vulnerable. I don't think it's worth, whatever this is, I don't think it's worth me being vulnerable, putting myself out in that way. Number 4, the feeling is just not mutual. And I don't need to waste your time, right? Number 5, it's uncomfortable for me to sit with your pain. I don't know what to do with it. There's nothing I can do with your pain. I cannot change how you see and experience things. You are the only person that can change that or can do anything there. The position that I have is not one that you like, and you've expressed that it causes you pain, but it's uncomfortable for me to sit with your pain because there's nothing I can do about it. Number 6, I'm hoping that you will read between the lines. Because perhaps you've assumed that this is something that it's not. Number 7, I can't give you what you want. Number 8, I'm keeping myself safe by detaching. And that's what I did. That's what I did in the story that I've told you. Number 9, I hope that you can hear in the silence what I can't say. I just don't have the words. I don't feel I have the right words to say what it is that I'm wanting to say. Number 10, there is just no more. I have nothing to add or to give. 11, I've shut down and I can't process. And that, for some people, is their coping mechanism. Now, you have to ask yourself, can I respect that this is this person's process without making their behavior about me? That can be hard to do when you are in your own wounding. So, how do we support ourselves in this case? You ask yourself, number 1, why does it matter to me? And get yourself a journal. Journaling is a really good way to process. Number 2, what is it that I associate with this silence? What does the silence from this person say to me? Number 3, what are these feelings? And what does it bring up for me? What is it that I am feeling right now? And what does it remind me of? What does it bring up for me? Number 4, how is it possible that my idea of whatever this is may differ to the person's idea of this relationship? 5, what are the facts about the relationship or the association that I have with this person? And does it match the value that I have placed in this relationship? Based on everything that this person's done, based on everything that has happened between us, based on the facts that I can write down, is it possible that I am placing more value in the relationship than they are, than is actually there? Number 6, what does the experience remind me of? And then 7, decide how you wish to support yourself through the opportunity, because every encounter is an opportunity, even if it feels shitty. Through the opportunity to develop a healthy self-concept and evolve your attachment style. To feel better, for you to feel better, without being judgmental, hateful, or bitter. Because that never helps. That doesn't help us. Like I said, it's okay if that's your initial instinct, because it's the ego's way of helping you to cope. But don't just leave it there. Don't leave the ego responsible for your development, because you're going to find yourself in a very unwanted place. So it's like when you have that pain, right? Or let's say you have a wound and you're bleeding, the first thing you do is cover it up. And then you go to the hospital and you ask, and you go to the doctors and you let them tend to it and see what the damage is and what needs to be done for it to heal and repair in the best way possible. You don't just leave it at, okay, let's just bandage it up and okay, let's move on. Because it's going to rot. Possibly. It's going to fester. It's going to become infected. It's the same with our emotional, our spiritual and psychological development. It is the same. Now, once you've spent some time going through these questions and journaling about it, and really coming to self-awareness about some of these questions and what's really going on for you. So now you've taken your focus away from the person altogether, because it might feel like it's about them, but it's not really. It's about the experience that you've attracted that is meant to help you grow. So that you can get to a point, as I've said before, where it doesn't completely consume you when people do not acknowledge you for whatever reason. And then you might want to consider talking to someone. Not to a friend that is going to say the same things that is going around on a lot of social media. That's going to have that same, let's put this person into the shitty box and close up the box and then try and move on. Or someone that can be really introspective, because sometimes when we speak to friends and family, they look at it from the relationship that they have with you, and they just don't like that you've been hurt, and they don't like that you've had this experience, and so they're just going to say whatever it is because they're angry or they have their own feelings about it. You want to speak to someone that can be objective. So it is best for you to, if you want, find a friend that you know has the capacity and the insight to help you to process this in a healthy way. But even better, find a counselor, a therapist, a coach, a transformational coach or a spiritual life coach, someone that can give you the guidance that helps you to expand as a result of your experience. Because when we experience something that upsets us, we speak to everybody about it and we don't realize sometimes we do more harm than good. You deserve to be acknowledged first and foremost, and to have someone with insight, experience, knowledge and wisdom about these kinds of things to facilitate and guide you towards happiness and feeling better about yourself and living a life that is more satisfactory. It's worth the investment. You want other people to invest in you, and often you're not willing to do the same for yourself. So invest in yourself by speaking to someone, to a professional, to someone to an expert. Journal. As I've said before, journaling is a wonderful way to process. Sometimes what goes on here is it's all our ideals, and it's the way that we want to see things. And yes, we see it that way, but do we practice it? Do we know how to implement it? Do we know how to become it? And sometimes when you journal, you see the deeper truths. When you go back and you read what you've written down when you were really emotional, you see yourself the way that others see you, and not the way that you would like to be seen or the way you think you are seen. And this can be very eye-opening, and it can be it can help you with your healing and your transformation. Number 3, spend quality time with yourself. we believe that there's value in making other people a priority because we hope that they will love us and we hope that they will stick around. And the one person that has been with you, has always been with you and always will be with you, is that person in the mirror, and that's the person that gets the scraps. Court yourself. Do kind things for yourself. Sit with yourself in a kind way where you learn to appreciate yourself the way that you would a friend. You know, when you're dating someone, you purposely want to find those things about them that you like and you find attractive. But in our relationships with ourselves, we often only criticize when we look in the mirror. We try and avoid ourselves. The first thing we do when we wake up is pick up our cell phone because we don't want to acknowledge, I'm here with me and how I feel. Develop your relationship with yourself and begin to treat yourself in the way that you treat others. That kindness that you believe you give to others, give it to yourself. And create space for solitude. Don't fill your life with other people. Number 4, read a book. Find a book on the subject and read. Those are the 4 tips I can give you to help you on your journey towards being comfortable with the ghosts, because you're so present with everything that is alive. I hope you enjoyed this talk, guys, and if it resonates or you have questions, comment down below, and I will either make a video answering your question, because I think it'll be helpful for everyone, or answer you, whatever I feel makes most sense. But you're welcome to comment with your questions. You're welcome to comment with your feedback. And I hope that this has helped you. I hope that this, perhaps not right now, maybe you know a friend that that needs to hear this, and maybe at some point you'll come back to it. Either way, you've got this. Your life experience and everything that's happening to you is happening for you, to support you in your own expansion and to help you to move closer to that which you desire. And surely you do not want to be in a situation where somebody does not value you, and you're making them the center of your world, because what they do or do not do or did not do has such a huge impact on how you feel about yourself, about relationships, about the world around you. How you feel matters, because what you give energy to, you attract more of that, and you deserve to be happy. Love and light. I'll chat to you guys next time.